Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of City Design on the only channel where I all but promise to deliver weekly episodes, yet somehow nearly every time get delayed by some tiny thing that was somehow unforeseeable. In today's installment, we're building the tourism, leisure, beachfront, whatever you call it, area. Basically, it's an entertainment area with high-level buildings. And this was super fun, and what I'd recommend for you to do is not to copy it building for building, road for road, and instead just take ideas and hints from here, which is what you should be doing with all my episodes. But this one mainly because these sort of areas are what really defines your city. They give it character. Now, there are a lot of buildings to go through here, and a lot of buildings that I wanted to include. So, to make sure I didn't miss any, I found all the buildings, and I laid down a road, and I put all the buildings I want to use on that road, just so I have a sort of palette to go from and make sure I use all these buildings. I also want to take this moment to let you guys know that I will no longer be answering questions that can easily be found in the description or just by doing a little bit of research. It's extremely annoying when I get asked, link your mods, link your assets, when it's right there in the description. So please, if you have a question, check the description first. These are the buildings that I chose. That's all of them that I plopped down right there. And I chose them because they have the sort of look that I want to go for. They're kind of modern. Before I actually put anything down, I need to establish an idea of what is going to be. And in this case, the port, because it's such a large part of this entire build. And I needed to know exactly what it's going to look like. To give myself a base for the port, I just took extra landscaping tools and I extended the ground a bit, so I can put down roads afterwards, and you'll see me do that in a second. This is exactly what I meant by the roads. I just take a regular road, this case is just the simple 2-lane, and I put it down, and I create a sort of border for where I want the seawalls to go that I'm placing down right now. I decided not to go with a key because the key was so messy, and honestly I don't like how much it looks, but I can't really change that. I don't have the time to change that in the industrial area. So I'm using these seawalls from the workshop. It's just search seawall, they're like the first thing that comes up. They're great, I think they look nice, and using prop it up, you can easily remove the extra props. They're also pretty versatile in the way that there are many different kinds of pieces, and using Move It you can make a whole variety of shapes and different sort of designs with them. After I finished plopping all of these down and I flattened the terrain around there so it's on a nice level, this is pretty much what it looks like. I think it looks pretty nice. The first building that I actually put down is the Oasis Hotel, and because I think a lot of these buildings, just so you know, are made by King Leno or Leno, I don't know how you pronounce it. This Oasis Pool, again, I put it immediately after because it has Oasis in the name, just like the hotel, as well as this filler building because it was kind of empty in here and I didn't really know what to put, so it was a pretty nice filler, hence the name. I made sure to leave enough space up front for a metro station, and in this case I'm using the Aviation/Century station. It's a metro overhaul station. It's really nice, it's clean, modern, and you can place it pretty much anywhere because it doesn't take up that much space. After fiddling around with the roads a bit, the next building I put down was the Blue Wave Hotel and the Luxuriance Shopping Center. They both kind of share a similar style, and you can easily clip them together to create this really nice sort of modern, tropical almost building. And that's exactly what I did. There you go, you see I put it down, and then you can see how similar they really are. So then using Move It takes like 2 seconds to put them together. It was really just a whole bunch of road laying and building placement, which is pretty self-explanatory, which is why I'm going to shut up now and let you guys just watch this in peace without me constantly mumbling. Something that I did want to mention though is that just shortly after doing all of this, my city reset, which is what you may have seen me make a little PSA, and that's exactly what I was talking about. All my road lights reset, all my buildings changed to vanilla, and all my painted surfaces disappeared, and I didn't have a hard backup, and all my saves were affected. So that took a while to fix everything again, and that's why this got delayed. There always seems to be some little thing that delays each episode, so yeah, I do apologize, and don't forget to make hard copies of your saves. Down this custom stadium that I also found in the workshop. It's huge and it's really nice because it has two train connections actually, which I can connect directly to my station because it's right there, and it's perfect. So after some generous building placement and just a little bit of detailing, it came time to just put down some smaller buildings, and in this case they're little retail food buildings pretty much. It's this In-N-Out burger, and then I'm also going to put down this Corrales, I don't know what you would call it, Corrales diner, fast food, whatever, because this entire project and the reason I started City Skylines was because of Corrales. I saw a few of his videos and I immediately bought the game, so obviously I have to dedicate something to him. From there I began assembling the port. I'm using these Monaco port buildings that I found on the workshop. They're really nice and they kind of resemble airplane terminal, but at the same time they're nice and modern, and they're pretty sleek, so they don't take up a huge amount of space. They're not huge and bulky, so I really like those. I used Move It to kind of clip them together into one long sort of tunnel, and yeah, that's pretty much all I did. You could see I already added the pedestrian connections to the CJ Europa ships, which are the green and blue cruise ships that you see over there. It's really just jet bridges, but they look like, you know, those bridges that people take to get onto the ship, so I think it looks pretty nice, and I'm just gonna leave it there. Actually supposed to be some sort of freight handling thing, like luggage, but I think it looks nicely like a sort of pedestrian tunnel that goes from building to building and eventually to the port, so I just decided to put it there, and then I'm going to detail around that later. While the port itself isn't actually functional because I wasn't able to get ships to properly spawn, I still wanted citizens to use it and for there to be ships entering and leaving it. So I decided to put down a ferry terminal as well as start my own ferry line from here. I don't have any other stops at the moment, so this is just kind of a placeholder, but eventually I will. I'm hoping for it to go around the map or something like that. In case you didn't know, ferries were introduced with the Mass Transit DLC. They're pretty nice, and using Ship Converter by Bloody Penguin, you can basically take a ship from the workshop and put it as a ferry. You can use it as a ferry. You also saw that the ferry terminal thing came with its own road, and if you wanted to change that before, you had to use the Touch This mod by the same person who made Move It, but now with Move It, you can just select that segment or the nodes there and remove that road and just place another one, and it'll work the same way. Now onto what I'm doing here. It's pretty straightforward. I'm just taking the parking lot roads that have been released recently, and I'm just creating a pretty large parking lot in this area over here. Thought it would be a nice filler, plus there needs to be somewhere for all the cars to go. I also decided to decorate the parking lots because they look pretty boring without anything, and I decided to use these, I think they're acacia trees or something like that, as well as these huge palms that I've been using throughout the city, and it really does bring life to this entire thing. And then I use some mulch planters and decals just to fill in some of the empty spaces. I repeat these steps in all the parking lots that I do, and I recommend you do too, because it does make the parking lots look much nicer, unless you're going for that really boring, poorly maintained sort of look. This brings us to something more interesting. This is what I guess is the service yard of the port. I put down these panel sort of decals, again by Ronix, just because if you look at ports and airports, I guess too, they have these panels wherever there's a lot of wear, I guess, like for example on the ramp in an airport where airplanes are traveling a lot. They have these concrete panels because they could take the weight of the planes more. And that's exactly what I did here, because there's so many vehicles on here. It makes sense to have these panels here, I guess. I don't actually know how realistic that is. I just thought it looked really nice. And then I just put down a whole bunch of airport service vehicles because I think they accomplish the same sort of thing. And plus, I think it looks nice, and to me at least, it makes sense. If you know a lot about ports or something, let me know and I might change that. At this point, traffic was getting really bad, so I decided to make the metro line. I went with the modern style because this is supposed to be a more modern area, and obviously that kind of makes sense. So I already had one line, and I think it wasn't the Trappist line. It was this line that I have in my downtown area. It goes through some of the residential neighborhoods, and I had it connect to this line through one station instead of two, because using the multi-track station enabler mod or something like that, you can hold a key down and it lets you choose which platform you want the line to connect to, and that let me have two lines in one station without them interfering with each other. Also, guys, take a moment right now to let me know in the comments how you like the quality of this episode. I am using a different screen recorder that one of you suggested, as well as a few new visual mods. I'm using post-processing, as well as some different settings for ultimate eye candy and stuff like that. So it should look a little better. Let me know how you guys like this. You can see me actually creating the line and sort of going with the space theme that you may or may not have noticed. I called this the SLS line, or Space Launch System by NASA, and I used the R160 trains by Biskugelhausen. It's the same trains I use on my other lines. I think they look really nice and modern. Again, like I said, I'm using the whole modern idea for this entire area. A lot of detailing in this episode, but I didn't have enough time to show all of it, so I'm just going to show you basically what I did. This is the same steps I use pretty much everywhere, with minor differences here and there, maybe some rocks. I really like this plaza, so I decided to show you. And this is again by King Leno, I don't know how to pronounce it, but yeah, it's just a whole bunch of these plazas, as well as some of these grass curb prop things. And then I put down the same trees I use everywhere: the live oak tree, some palms, this new fall tree that came out I found on the workshop, and some shrubs here and there. Actually my favorite part of the entire build. This was so fun, and I think a lot of you will actually enjoy this too. This is the whole beachfront, and this it's a straightforward process, but it takes a while because you have to repeat the same thing so many times. So I took the cabana furniture by, again, King Leno. I'm just gonna say King Leno, it's so much easier. And I put them into different arrangements, some curves, some lines, and I made sure to click render and place at vanilla resolution in, prop line tool, because I didn't want them to be completely straight with each other. I wanted them to be a little bit staggered, just for that little bit of realism. I then took Joach's parasols and I put them everywhere, some umbrellas here and there, because beaches have that. And I also used Joach's furniture, like this lawn lounge chair. And then I just took surface painter and I used this, I think it's called the clip texture, I don't know. I painted it everywhere and it removed all the ruining sort of texture underneath. And then I just deleted some props, because if you go to any beach, you're always going to have missing chairs, and I think it looks pretty nice. I also made sure to create a boardwalk, because no beach is complete without a boardwalk. And to make the beach actually used by people, I put down a few roads and pathways, and then put down some park people generators just to get people flowing through, and then I covered the pathways with the same thing I used on the props. this point, we're coming up to the end of the episode, and I'd like to thank all of you for watching. Next episode is going to be specialized industry like forestry and farms, and that'll actually be the last episode of City Design. Although it will be the last episode of City Design and won't be the end of Grunstadt, I'm planning on making a few live streams as well as an airport mini-series. After that, we're going to start another series, but that'll stay a secret for now. If you guys like this episode, then please do leave a like because it shows me how much you guys enjoy the video. On the other hand, if you didn't like it, then leave a dislike. But don't forget to leave a comment about what you liked or didn't like because, believe it or not, I read all the comments. If you'd like to see more of these videos, then consider subscribing because I try to make these weekly, or maybe you would consider hitting the bell icon to be notified of when I post another video. As always, see you next time.